1v3
Oh,
as
yes.
well. Definitely worried about that mid lane matchup. I'm so excited to start out the group stage with these two teams that have such rich history at international events. Seems like always for EU and always for North America. Fnatic and Cloud9 are the representatives. They even had that shared sponsorship, the United in Rivalry, for several years, and we're gonna put that rivalry to the test right now.
And you already talked about the jungle attack. Look at this, Graves taken away, Trundle taken away. Cloud9's game plan is very much trying to limit Razork, and I think one of the advantages Cloud9 have had throughout their run, throughout playoffs, is their flexibility, their ability and confidence to carry through pretty much every lane. But for the time being, Fnatic actually removing some comfort there by picking away Olaf, or banning away rather, Olaf from Ladder.
Yeah, I 100% agree. The junglers for both teams have been so critical to the success of Cloud9 and Fnatic. Razork, again, focusing on him, trying to get him off of one of those, early game champions. Lee Sin is still up, and he definitely had very successful Lee Sin games already. The Yumi's going to follow, as we probably will be accustomed to Yumi staying on the ban list, much to the adoration of the fans. You can hear cheering already for that one.
The Sejuani locked in for C9, so they're going for a bit of a flexible approach. Immediate response here from Fnatic as well. We've seen Maokai being flexed into both top lane and jungle and support, along with Sejuani, honestly, in the same 3 roles. So both teams really not showing much here in the first 2 picks.
Another thing is interesting too, if we expect the jungles to start going towards the carry jungles, the mid laners in Champions Cube have started playing a lot more supportive mid laners. Karma is a really big pick as a flex pick between mid and support. Maokai, as you mentioned, super flexible here for Fnatic, so they can go a lot of directions with it. The answer for Cloud9, though, that misfortune really plays off of CC setup. Sejuani is decent setup, but of course only the single target stuns and just a slow field. So if they could supplement this misfortune with another big AoE CC
Amumu,
setup,
perhaps?
would be a good one, the classic.
Amumu is something that we saw a lot of in planes paired up with Misfortune to give very much what you're talking about, Kobe. For now, though, it does seem that Sven going towards Nautilus. It was something that we did see from him during summer, but this was one of the big question marks that I know a lot of you North American analysts had around him and his adaptation shift away from the Enchanters to the engaged support.
And I think a lot of North American fans are kind of glad to see Sven on the Nautilus, as that is the engaged champ that he has put the most time in on. And that ultimate plus the hook in there, that can be the setup for the Misfortune that they are looking for. Meanwhile, though, Humanoid gets the Azir. Really, really strong mid lane scaling carry here for him. Definitely has been a centerpiece for Fnatic.
So I would say what we've seen so far is Fnatic going for a little bit more of a standard safe approach to their first game. A very typical front to back. You can see they clearly have their tank engaged with the Maokai, with the backline threat of both the Aphelios and the Azir, whereas C9 going for a bit of safety with the Sejuani, but with the Misfortune on the bot side, it already suggests that they're looking to go a little bit more aggressive on that bot side of the map.
Yeah, definitely sees Fnatic have a lot of good objective setup here. Maokai definitely brings that for you, no matter what role it's in. Those saplings with the extra vision and the wide ultimate here. So let's whittle down on the support role. Cloud9 banning away the Leona, trying to ban away more of the setup from Hylissang, who of course likes to be that huge playmaker for Fnatic.
I wouldn't be surprised to see the LeBlanc now taken away from Jensen. We know that LeBlanc can be a very effective matchup into the Azir, and it's something that Jensen often relies on to give him that power matchup, but no, instead, they're going to focus on removing some more of these control mages.
Yeah, I actually like that move from Fnatic to take away some of the possible answer scaling in mid lane that Jensen could go with. The other thing you could go with for Jensen is the Akali. Akali here matchup into Azir can have that kill pressure once you get level 6 with your perfect execution. Also can have good kill pressure onto something like an Aphelios, but doesn't mean that Cloud9 will have as robust of a setup. So could go Akali, could go even more spicy stuff like Yone answers into the Azir as well.
Thresh hover right now coming in from Fnatic. We haven't really seen a huge amount of Thresh so far this season, but of course Thresh was buffed fairly recently. Often, at least domestically, many Europeans would say that Nautilus was a good answer to Thresh, so I would be surprised to see that hover, but the Renate is now going to come through from Hylissang's. A staple for him during the regular season and something he's very comfortable on.
And Renate is huge if you expect your opponents to have multiple hard engaged champions. That ultimate from Renate is great counter engrades, great peel for an Aphelios. And since you're already looking at Sejuani and Nautilus, they're definitely looking at multiple melees, charging into them. Jensen lays down his LeBlanc.
I have to tell you, by the way, 4th most played mid laners for both respective players. The difference, however, 52 games for Jensen's LeBlanc, 72%, 77% win ratio. And for Humanoids, Azir, 30 games played, 53% win ratio. Both players on some of their signature champions.
For sure, they certainly are. I'm excited to see Jensen back on the international stage with this LeBlanc. Let's see what he can do in the mid lane. But more interestingly, this blind pick Fiora going to be answered with an Ornn from Wonder. So Fnatic hard committing to the front-to-back team fight style of play, whereas C9 want a little bit more agency, a little bit more side lane threat with their 2 solo lanes.
Exactly. Fnatic are saying, we are going to control objectives. We are going to 5-on-5. We want team fights after team fights after team fights. Please and thank you very much. Little bit of time for scaling there for the Fnatic side as well to get to that, orderly front-to-back setup that they're going to want. Cloud9, meanwhile, have a little bit more of a wild card possibility here. If you can gank for a LeBlanc early, Jensen can start to upset those early lane phases, and of course, Fudge. They talked about it on the analyst desk. Last time at Worlds, he had one of the most versatile champion pools. He is also one of the players that hides all of his picks from champions queue, so doesn't want to give anything away. And they have a lot of faith in him. Goes with that blind pick Fiora. Into the Ornn, definitely going to be an easy lane for him to try and scale and see if he can get into some split pushing power.
With a draft like this, it suggests to me that C9 is looking to attack top lane in the early game. Sejuani played up with any really melee champion, synergizes very well, and Fiora is no exception. With the LeBlanc and the expectation that maybe early levels you can't get that priority, but around level 6, when you can actually start to gain control of the lane, don't be surprised to see Jensen push out that mid lane, start to roam up top, and see if they can shut down Wonder, who does typically play on the weak side for Fnatic.
Exactly, and that LeBlanc lane hinges on kill pressure. So the more ganks, the better, because you want to play off of aggressive trades there and then open up some space for him.
Well, New York City, put your hands together one more time as we load up to Summoner's Rift for the first group stage game of Worlds 2022. My eyes are going to be on this resort, Maokai. Can he unlock this early game, and will Fnatic be able to maintain the discipline in the early stages of this game to get to the stage that Aphelios, Azir, Ornn can unlock those front-to-back team fights?
Now, what's interesting about both these teams is that during the regular season, both struggled. Fnatic barely made it into playoffs. There were many questions and doubts if they even could qualify. And one of the big reasons was because of Razork in the jungle. His aggression in the early game, his willingness to just perma-dive bot at level 2, level 3 was something that many teams could not rival. And Cloud9, they found themselves in a similar position in the way that they bounced back in playoffs.
Ooh, holding my thought here. 2 members of Fnatic step forward. Their ward is instantly cleared out. No, actually, final hit, last one to go. Sand Soldier pops up. Small advantage here, not going to get just yet.
They get the ward and the crowd goes wild! Cloud9 getting some gold off that, but more importantly, a little bit of that extra experience for LeBlanc. Because as we've said, this is a kill pressure oriented lane for LeBlanc. You're always trying to trade health and go for these aggressive trades. Now he can get level 2 on the first wave here with the extra experience from the ward. Helps him out a little bit.
I mean, that should, in theory, give Jensen that first level 2, as you were talking about, and the amount of pressure and threat that mid lane will be able to generate is something that we have to keep our eyes on. Wonder looks like he is starting to get this slow push up towards the top side of the map, and keep my eyes on the pathing of both junglers right now. Information has been gained as to where Razork is, as Blabber is now clearing out his crows.
And we can touch a little bit on why Maokai is one of the new faces at Worlds. The adjustments to this champion, basically a bunch of extra damage to the monsters on your Q. That really helped out at clear speed there as well. And they incentivized building tank because they've got that HP scaling off of those saplings now, a little bit less on the AP.
And Kobe, we saw the flexibility from play-ins as well. The number of different roles that Maokai can be played. We saw a top jungle as well as support, throwing an extra curveball in the draft. The other thing that I'm intrigued to track as groups continues to play out, blind pick Fiora. We know our LPL colleagues and brethren are very familiar with this approach, but not something we've seen hugely prolific in many other leagues.
And it does really well into the other very popular top laners. Aatrox and Ornn, very easy matchups early on, so it's definitely a skill-based champion here. A lot of the matchups, of course, depending on your repose timings, on your Q positionings. Wonder, of course, is going to be the first one attacked. Blabber uses the Q over the back of the wall behind this vision.
Oh, waiting for that cooldown. Q, 10 seconds, waiting for the Bellows Breath that has been used. Wonder's still got the flash available to him. Cloud9 stepping forward, chasing down Ornn, flashing over the wall. Wonder makes it work.
Yeah, great flash there. That positioning on the large part of the wall gets right over it. Meanwhile, mid lane.
Oh, a lot of trades back and forth. I think Jensen came away a little worse for wear there.
So, a couple of things that need to be taken into consideration here. Blabber, using his information of where Razork is pathing, means that he's able to find a very safe gank up towards the top side, but now Razork is the one on the offensive. Humanoid gets a good trade.
New York going mad for Blabber killing the Scuttle Crab. They know why. Jensen is at threat of being tower dove. That point and click CC will follow. Hylissang gets caught up by the dredge line. He's burning. He's chunked out. He's bailed out. The Berserker's running for his life. Cloud9 get first blood in New York.
Oh, the Nautilus Force Fan! He does it on the engaged supports. He does also end up getting the kill there with the Ignite taking away onto Hylissang, and it is Cloud9 scoring the first blood. Meanwhile, the attempt on the mid lane gank, I think it was a good play set up from Fnatic. Razork clearing him around. Jensen had no more charges in Corrupting Potion, sitting there at 200 HP, but Blabber was able to come over to cover it for Jensen.
Look at the minimap as well. A number of Fnatic wards littered around that mid lane. The threat that Jensen will pose, making sure they had that opportunity set up, and ultimately Fnatic find themselves down a couple hundred gold at this point in time.
Yeah, some of it is being made up by Humanoid. This CS lead for mid lane, this Azir constantly taking chunks out of the health bar here for Jensen, punishing him. Still has his teleport ready there for the LeBlanc, so he'll finish up that CS and get right back out there.
So I think one of the game plans here from Hylissang is to try and chunk out this bot lane from C9 so they can actually set up a dive. This gank in the mid lane is only the initial setup in being allowing Humanoid to then transition from mid to bot to then set up that dive once the wave actually collapses underneath the tower. But Sven reads the play, attacks Hylissang in advance, and they're able to get the upper hand on the Fnatic bot lane.
And the funny thing there is that because the Ignite is still ticking during the bailout, the last thing that damages you as your bailout HP is dropping comes from the support. So Berserker could have gone and given another auto over there to get it, but Sven happy to get a little bit more tanky.
And the amount of damage that Berserker took as well from that Aphelios that finds himself up. 8 CS for the time being. This wave is being shoved forward over and over, as you would expect from Aphelios. Renata lane stepping into that MF plus Nautilus. We caught a glimpse very briefly of Blabber picking up the camp on the bottom half of the map, while Razork is also invading and stealing away the chickens. There may be a small engage here, Kobe.
Yeah, Blabber is definitely going to find him on that control ward. Razork gets the crab, though, or the raptor.
That's it, that little Scuttle is going forward. There's the Emperor's Divide. Blabber's running for his life. He's popped the flash into the river. Bottom lane is not moving as of yet, and Razork is under trouble, under threat. He's jumped in, knocked back to the Bramble Smash, and the clone can't do it. Jensen's burning, being chunked down. One more auto, not enough to do it. Flash for flash, traded. Jensen gets out with his life.
Wonder's coming, though. Can he pull him over?
No, he cannot. The snipe fails. Cloud9 survive.
Oh my word, Fnatic, they're not quite able to find any kills. Sven is able to get away with his life as well, but the damage is still being done to Cloud9. Look at how much Jensen is losing in this mid lane matchup right now. He doesn't have the teleport available. Humanoid has almost gotten a 20 CS lead in the isolated 1v1, and he's got a plate waiting for him to give him another bit of gold.
Yeah, it looks like they're going with the fasting LeBlanc angle here for Cloud9. Jensen, he took such a big chunk out of Razork. I think he kind of baited himself into looking for that kill, even 1v3 with the rest of Fnatic there. And then even though Jensen does not die, holding his flash there to get the flash out of Humanoid, he still, like you're saying, gives up so much CS, constantly getting pushed back to the fountain.
The shield from Hylissang was incredibly clutch there. Jensen saw that window. Maokai very squishy this early on into the game. Unfortunately, as you said, he kind of got baited a little bit by his own damage and wasn't quite able to secure the kill. You can see the gold still very much even. Of course, while Cloud9 do have that kill lead, for the time being, the CS discrepancies players, in particular being built up in the mid lane, are something that Cloud9 need to find a way to stem, because when you look at the compositions, Cloud9 do have strong side lane threat, but Fnatic, if they're able to secure early Dragons, early Heralds, they will be in a better position to set up for the team fights, which is exactly what they want.
My head is telling me there's a bit of diffy in the scaling department when I look at this Fnatic composition. Also, you will notice both bot lanes have just recalled for the first time, 7.5 minutes. First buys coming in, Berserker Greaves, as well as those Lucy boots for Upset and Hilly. And there are some movements on the map as Humanoid is constantly under threat from Jensen. It is at the cost of his CS, though.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest differences is how they're going to actually fight these team fights, with how structured Fnatic are with their massive frontline here and big CC ultimates from both the Ornn and the Maokai. Once they get to group up and use those synergies, front to back is going to be massive. As you can see, Humanoid went with the first item, Merc Treads versus LeBlanc. This greatly decreases the threat of those LeBlanc kills that we were talking about. So I think Fnatic, this is one of the biggest positives for them. As you can see, they're even a little bit ahead in gold because of the CS differences.
I think that Cloud9 made a really smart choice here. They know that they are stronger at this point in the game, as they should be. Even with the small CS discrepancy being built up in mid lane, it's still not a fight that Fnatic want to take. So immediately Fnatic go for the cross map. They trade for Drakes because they know that their win condition is later on into the game. And the best way for them to get fights is to start stacking those Drakes as early as possible, because the moment you get to 3, Cloud9 have to come to you. And in an ideal world, Cloud9 want to leverage their side lane pressure to force Fnatic to split apart, because there's no one that can stop this Fiora on a side lane.
Exactly, and it even allows more turret plates for Upset here. That late game carry, that DPS monster we talked about.
That is already up 12 CS and the plates. I do want to mention as well to all the fans here in New York that for Fnatic, deprioritizing the Rift Herald, playing for Drakes, is something that we have seen from them fairly consistently now throughout the course of the summer season. I think throughout the course of play-ins, it's fair to say as well. So as far as a strategy goes, Lydia's already mentioned it. We talked about the composition. If Fnatic get Drake stacking under their belt, now the pressure's on Cloud9 in my eyes to make sure they can find those skirmishes and don't let this front-to-back team comp get fully online.
Well, this Herald is really important in how they use it, because Cloud9, they want to unlock their 2 solo lanes. They either want to try and bring Jensen back to equal footing with Humanoid, or they want to unlock Fudge a little bit more on the map. The question is, how are they going to use it? Will they use it to try and attack mid, to try and limit Humanoid and his pressure that he can generate in the 1v1 matchup, or they instead look to try and snowball an already pretty favorable matchup up towards the top side?
And everyone always focuses on the gold from the Rift Herald that you're going to get, but the map territory here, by actually taking down the defenses of these towers, is going to help out the game plan for Cloud9 so much. Fiora and LeBlanc both thrive when they have much more map territory to work with for those, lurking LeBlanc plays through the brush, trying to find, burst damage onto people, rotating between objectives, and getting Fudge more room to play with in some 1v1s.
And it's so crucial to keep looking up at the gold, at the Dragons. Despite being down the kill, it's Fnatic up in gold, Fnatic with the Drake. That mid and bottom lane pressure is doing phenomenally, and we haven't spent a lot of time watching Wonder and Fudge, but now because of the lane assignments, we need to see how they move around the map.
So this is pretty clever from Fnatic, because as we were talking about, they know that C9's game plan is to use that Herald to try and unlock someone on the map. Fnatic is saying, well, we think you're going to use it top lane, so we're actually going to swap our bot lane up to top while we have a window, because that's going to make it harder for you, knowing that your jungler is pathing up towards the top side. Now we see an engage from Cloud9.
Oh, Glacial Prison is flashed away from. Hilly gets out of dodge. Fudge unable to continue. If you look at the minimap, support and jungler making their way through the river. No further risk of engage right now.
Also, Cloud9, they made the call. Berserker recalls here with Misfortune. Even though he gets Kraken Slayer and rushes past the boots, now they come in Magic Footwear plus the Strut. Gets a really quick rotation up to the top side, try and go catch those minion waves. But Fnatic are also resetting right back.
And it's Fnatic trying to keep these matchups. They're trying to keep the Ornn away from the Fiora, and basically they're slowing the game down from the side of Cloud9. They want to accelerate this game. They want to use this Herald to take plates, to take towers, to start gaining access into the enemy jungle, start looking for picks, and basically be proactive. And Fnatic is saying, we're just going to be as obnoxious as possible. We're going to swap as often as possible. We're going to kind of disassociate these lane matchups to make your life as more complicated, and now you're not going to have an easy Herald, and as long as the gold stays even, Fnatic is happy.
And we have about another minute of that kind of game of tag going on. Sven goes for the dive.
Veg line, will tag, bullet time, throw everything at him! Wonder almost escaped, but the ignite, tick, tick, boom! Sven gets another.
Another one! It's Sven with all the kills in the whole game, in the whole tournament of the group stages of Worlds. Sven has every kill!
What a great quick stat FNC. Crucially, though, the bottom lane tower, Fnatic continue to siege it up. Hilly's doing his best to deal with the Rift Herald. It's a race for first tower. That Cloud9 should pick up here. It's being chunked down, and Cloud9 get tower first blood.
And this was the best play that Cloud9 could make. They realized that they were tired of Fnatic shenanigans. They didn't want to have to deal with this anymore, so they committed 3 members on the top side with a stacked wave, and they were able to find a successful dive. Beautifully played with the stacking CC onto Wonder, meant that he really had nowhere to go, and Cloud9 will finally get themselves a firm gold lead in this early game.
I want to point out that ward right there. Good job, observers, because going up to see Jensen roaming down, that is the information that stopped Upset from finishing that tower. Jensen with the half roam on LeBlanc threatens the extra reinforcements there, makes Fnatic back off so they don't get the trade on the tower kill just yet.
And nearly in the blink of an eye, the kill, the tower, the plates, pushes Cloud9 just shy of 1,500 gold ahead. And crucially as well, those mythics have already been picked up by Fudge, by Berserker. They will obviously just be moments away once Fnatic decide to back, but the battle or the combat power, 10 seconds to Drake in favor of Cloud9.
Exactly, that means you have to reset. If you're going to bring your top laner, you would have to bring them now. You can tell that Cloud9 have already made the call. We are not going to fight it because they commit Fudge top side of the map. There's no teleport for Fudge. Wonder has the extra teleport there for Fnatic. It's going to unleash very quickly here, 10 more seconds.
Well, the awkward thing for Fnatic right now is that Razork is on the top side of the map. The question is, how much information do Cloud9 have of their opposition? You can see a number grouping up in the bot side river. They have their eyes on Humanoid. He sights
Oh, stepping forward. That was beautiful, Betty.
very clean play there from Humanoid. Fancy feet. When the pressure is on, he is an individual that will step up and perform. The question is, can he perform right now? Has just burnt the teleport, will catch this mid wave. C9 have control over the Dragon area.
Veddy, I think it's fair to say Humanoid has been performing all worlds long. Play-ins was the star player. He's up 30 CS versus his opposite number. Cloud9 will look likely grab this Dragon uncontested, and Fudge is removed. That tower down, it unlocks him to move around.
You can tell he's confident. You can tell Humanoid is loving it. Spamming the question mark frog emote at everyone who shows up in his lane. It's always funny to see, too, the guessing game. Trying to play that mental game. Are they a dodge backwards type of player, or are they just a move forward type of player? Getting that mental edge, trying to get in there, see if he's going to miss any more.
So our expectation there was that Fnatic would actually look to contest that Drake, but based on what I could see on the map, it looked like Upset hadn't upgraded his item yet, whereas MF had. You already talked about it earlier, and they said, you know what, on these item spikes, it's probably not great for us to push, especially when Berserker already actually had the push on bot, giving them the window to roam up towards mid. And even though Fudge didn't have TP, they were saying, you know what, our tanks aren't tanky enough yet. We're actually not strong enough to go for this fight, especially with the Divine Sunder already picked up for Fudge. So Fnatic made the wise call to actually concede this, and that's going to allow Cloud9 to build up a little bit more space. But I still feel like Fnatic's in a comfortable position with only a 1k gold deficit. Given the scaling that they still have on their side, Fnatic still feels pretty comfortable.
Yeah, exactly. They're definitely comfortable in their scaling, as alluded to earlier. It does mean Cloud9 are going to get both neutral objectives here. They're going to swap right up to the Rift Herald number 2. This one is not, of course, as highly prized as the previous ones, but the extra 200 gold was also added to Rift Herald number 2 here to make it a little bit more enticing. And in exchange, Fnatic did finally get over that last little bit of damage onto the bottom tower to funnel more money down there into Upset.
I will also say that from C9's perspective, it's a really important pickup because sieging against Nazir is really obnoxious. The champion has so much range, so much wave clear, and a Herald will really help in being able to break down that mid-tier 1.
Yeah, it's going to be very telling as we set up for the next Dragons, because with Maokai, really strong scaling front line here, the spam of those saplings in advance of the spawn of the Dragon gives you so much extra vision control in the setup and allows Fnatic to set those battle lines. They want easy front-to-back team fighting with Wonder and Razork on the front lines.
So the man that I'm going to be looking at, Kobe, to try and thwart that, get around it either before or look for that flank is going to be Jensen. We just saw the gold on your screen. He's down 40 CS right now for Jensen, returning to Worlds for the 8th consecutive year. Take that in for a second. When Fnatic as an organization have attended 10 World Championships as an organization, Jensen's here 8 in a row. but he is in a situation where he's down in gold. He's been trying to poke, prod, and push Humanoid, but Humanoid hasn't buckled yet.
Yeah, Jensen Incorporated, an organization that also has 100% presence at Worlds. Impressive stuff from him. 8 years the career, 8 times the performances at Worlds.
Joel,
Really?
look at that, forcing the flash. Is this the opposite of a caster curse? We praise him, and he pulls, there's a new power being born.
I mean, what was crazy about that play was mid-dash, Hilly was able to hit him with the
handshake.
Yeah. And then he interrupts the dash as well. That was crazy, of course.
Hilly still got it with those old hands.
Yeah, he certainly does. Quick shot. Hilly forced the flash, though, as C9 looked to reclaim some vision control around the bot side of the map.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to track how the setup does go. Because, of course, Misfortune, so much of the power is packed into this ultimate. So a lot of the setup and the CC from Cloud9 to make sure some players are locked in place for Berserker to be able to get off a good Misfortune ultimate is going to be paramount in determining their success or failure.
So let's talk a little bit now as Rift Herald is dropped in the middle lane. What pressure can this unlock?
Oh, here we go!
It's coming down. Nature's Grasp. Roots up too. Shelly gets off the charge. Here comes Call of the Forge God. Throws Berserker flying in the air. He's looking for the bullet time, but the damage being done, and Sven is killed. Emperor's Divine Slide and Glide. Humanoid takes down Blabber. Now all of a sudden there's the root connecting on a Jensen Moonlight Vigil. Plus the Inferno, not enough damage. Fnatic by 2.
Huge double teleport from Fnatic, catches Cloud9 right across mid lane, and they're going to get a tower on top of it. Very big rewards here.
It's just a really great awareness from Fnatic to leverage their team fighting prowess. They had both teleports available. They recognized that this was a window where C9 was grouping up to use that Herald to break down this mid tower, and look at the engage coming in from all angles.
It's such a nice timing here too, because Maokai ultimate from the right, Renata ultimate from the top, and double teleports from the bottom. They surround Cloud9 from all sides there, and you see a very late teleport called for Cloud9. They really didn't want to have to use it. They didn't want to have to fight that because the setup there from Fnatic was so good with the surround.
Now Jensen's hunting Humanoid. He throws down the Sun Disc. How cheeky is that? Conquering Shifting Sands, plus the use of the flash. Humanoid's got the Sand Soldiers up, but there's so much threat. The Arctic Assault from Blabber gets revenge instantaneously.
A big shutdown for Cloud9 as they get a kill onto Humanoid, and they're able to relieve a little bit of that pressure, but aggression from both sides. The gold still dead even, but you get to see the threat. Cloud9 looking to try and attack these side lanes, looking for picks like we just saw on our screen. But when Cloud9 do use that small window to group up, that is when Fnatic will look to attack and leverage their strong 5v5.
And we can see the difference in damage output in the last mid lane fight. So much of it packed in, even when Berserker was able to get that ultimate off here, as Fnatic will, in the aftermath, pick up this dragon. Because you've got the Anathema's chains on Razork, and Wonder is so tanky with so much armor already, even with a almost full channeled Misfortune ultimate, those tanks kind of shrugged off the damage. Fnatic very happy with how beefy they've gotten.
Now, of course, with the state of the game, the second dragon picked up, and I think crucially for me, seeing how Fnatic approached that team fight, I was expecting front to back. I was expecting ARAM style. They pulled off those flanking ultimates, which is what I thought Cloud9 would have needed to do.
Very intrigued to see if Cloud9 are going to be able to get off some better angles themselves. With Fudge trying to implement the split pushing there, his Divine Sunder is done. Of course, looking for Jensen, trying to get some of these flank angles. If he can find Hilly or Upset, rotating between objectives is the main goal. Right now, though, trailing Fudge.
The observers highlighted it before I had an opportunity to get to it, but you could see this is something that C9 is going to continue to do. Try and attack these side lanes. Constantly look for picks to give you access into deeper vision control and further picks. And they go for the dive.
Going once again, Wonder's the target. He's going to dash towards the tower. The chains will not root him. Call of the Forge God throws Jensen in the air. Cloud9's got reinforcements from the river, and the Fnatic backing at a tower.
Yeah, Blabber charging ahead, see if they can catch these tanks. The big tank ultimates are down. Cloud9 will force them out, and it looks like it will be traded for a tower on top side as Humanoid takes it.
And you can start to feel the pressure that C9 is putting themselves under, because with this side lane threat, if they're not finding picks, if they're not winning out, then they're not gaining space or control over the map, and you're giving space and freedom for Humanoid to just free farm. We are 21.5 minutes in, and this man is at 240 CS. He is already level 13. He just picked up the Void Staff. This man is becoming a monster.
We shall call him Humanoid from here on out. And Kobe at 22 minutes, looking at second items being completed. things are starting to look a little more hairy, a little more challenging for Cloud9.
Yeah, it's going to be really hard for Jensen to keep playing these team fights here, because the LeBlanc, you get answered very quickly by a Maokai, point and click CC towards the later stages, and Jensen is basically just looking for damage on Humanoid, Upset, or Hylissang there. It's going to be very hard for him to actually find those angles. So again, we're looking at that vision control and the fog of war. Can Cloud9 get pathways for Fudge and Jensen to actually be able to play this game?
Exactly, because well, we kind of all acknowledge that LeBlanc is much more of a poke champion the later into the game you go, right? Leveraging that fog of war that you were talking about to dash over the wall, chunk someone out, and then dash back in. The problem that he's now going to face is Upset with a Bloodthirster. He's looking for it, though. But this is the type of thing that we were exactly talking about. Our Observer's doing a fantastic job of highlighting that fog of war. The problem is, it's in his half of the map, and this is not exactly where he wants to be as Fnatic continue to pressure this mid-tier 2.
There's the engage with that Nature's Grasp. Look at the multi-angles, the zone control. Cloud9 can do naught when so many ultimates are thrown across their lane.
Fnatic can basically cover your whole screen with large AoE CC ultimates here. They unleash all three of them again. They get the kill, and they get the kill so quickly, Fudge can't even...
TP?
Well, what's this gonna happen here? Fudge running for his life. Flash is available to him. Put yourself in the shoes of Berserker, or Fudge, or Jensen.
Humanoid?
How do they possibly position and deal with the hostile takeover, the Nature's Grasp, Call of the Forge Code? Hell, even Moonlight Vigil can hit you from 2 screens away.
They got to spread out across the entire map. That's why we keep coming back to some split pushing here for Cloud9. Jensen, as you can see, pushing out the top side. Fudge was trying to get some distance going for them on the bottom side of the map, is able to get away from the teleport there. So that is one cooldown at least that they have been able to burn through.
It's one of the big pressures of Worlds, right? Coming into day one, game one, you've got to think about your approach. And Fnatic's approach this whole draft is keep it simple. Press R, engage. And this on your screen is exactly what you are seeing right now. It's a straightforward, clear cut, and the window is straightforward too. Fiora bot lane, engage mid. It's Sven that ends up being punished for it, but there's very little that he can do in a situation like that.
Yeah, Nautilus has one of the slowest base move speeds in the entire game of any champion. No way he's getting out of that one.
And put yourself in Sven's shoes as well. One of the only players that has won a regional title in 2 different roles, coming up as a support against Fnatic, an organization he's incredibly familiar with. Questions and discussions around the champion. Can't wait to see how it develops throughout the tournament. But right now, he has been the subject of the damage dealers from Fnatic. They still maintain that minute 400 gold lead. And gentlemen, with 40 seconds to go until the next Mountain Drake, we can already see wards and saplings being tossed out around Baron. Now there's multiple objectives that can get taken down very quickly.
So the next thing that Cloud9 have to start being worried about is the Baron 2-man. Azir and Aphelios are both champions that, with the right setup, can actually just do the Baron with someone tanking it for them. Maokai, Ornn, these are both perfect champions for tanking that Baron, and so you can see C9 investing a lot more time to making sure they have vision control, as Fudge is now in danger.
Fudge this time around getting caught out. Will sidestep the Forge Guard. Upset's got the green gun, flashes for the kill. Fudge has been trying to apply pressure, but has not necessarily unlocked the advantages that Cloud9 were hoping for with the commitment up top. Jensen will at least get the tower down bottom, and Fnatic will be happy with that for now.
Yeah, big pick up there for Fnatic, taking down Fudge. 30 seconds on the death timer, and the Dragon is up right now, so Fnatic rotating everybody over. They may be a slower, lumbering composition, but they are a powerful one, so once they arrive, they've got the setup here. Starting Dragon instantly. 15 seconds on Fudge, and he does have Unleashed Teleport.
Oh, that was bold from Jensen.
He did such little damage to Razork there, and you can see the problem that Jensen has to face right now. All 5 members of Fnatic have arrived.
3, 2, 1 second for Fudge. Does he TP instantly? Yes, he does inside the pit. Nature's Grasp is thrown down. Glacial Prison does catch out Wonder. Now Fudge is inside. What more can he do? Sven is the target and retreat. Run! Evacuate! Cloud9 are trying to get away as Razork jumps onto Berserker. Fnatic fully commit. The Emperor's Divide cuts off Cloud9's retreat, but Berserker's doing so much damage. He's already taken down Razork. Hilly's low, Humanoid's low, and Jensen's hunting. That's a golden Hylissang. New York, are you not entertained as Jensen finds Hylissang? Humanoid gets one more back, and Jensen looks for the double kill.
Cloud9 with the scramble. Fudge also lives, running up towards the top side, but can he get out? He's not able to get the channel off. Upset is going to close the doors.
Fudge is going to get eaten alive. White, blue stepping forward. Gale Force, Flamethrower. Riposte buys some time, but Upset is just hunting. Final shot secured. Upset on a killing spree. 3-0-3, and we are still dead even in goals.
A lot of overconfidence there from Fnatic. After securing the Dragon, they think that we can dive into this choke point, but you'll see Blabber getting and acting as a great front line as Fudge secures a really important kill to set up the healing field for Fiora. Keep your eyes on Fudge on the back line here. Dives onto Razork, is able to proc all of those ultimate procs and gets this massive healing field to keep C9 in the fight.
Yeah, the Fiora ultimate was really big there, but the split on the back line, and Jensen, as he's able to get there, Hylissang and Humanoid chunk down. They're able to force him away because Upset chases to the bottom side of the fight, and Cloud9's comp is going to thrive when the chaos starts to break apart that team fight.
When they started to split up through that choke point, as you rightly said, is really where things started to fall apart to Fnatic, but still, a relatively close fight overall. Fnatic walk away with the Dragon, and now they find themselves at Soul Point. They're still in a very commanding position, and you can see how much threat Humanoid offers in these team fights at the moment.
Yeah, Fnatic, they want to keep those battle lines stable. Cloud9 doing their best to sow unrest inside the team. Grouping up on Baron, though, as you said, but earlier, that thing will melt.
Oh my god, Humanoid just picked up the death cap.
Double TPs, one coming in from blue buff. Jensen arrives, Humanoid is a little late to the pod, no flash available to him. Nature's Grasp will at least root and slow people down. These are zoning ultimates as best as they can. Baron secured by Fnatic. Dredgeline catches onto Razork, and the bullet time flies across Fnatic, but there's not enough damage. They're just too tanky. Fnatic on the hunt once again, but remember, when Cloud9 scatter, Fnatic are less effective.
Fnatic raise the shield wall. They hold formation. They do not break this time, and Cloud9 now have to deal with a Baron-empowered siege.
And the timing was flawless from Fnatic. They sent Humanoid back to base. He buys the death cap, TP's back in, and you can see the triple items on their carries. Fnatic is fully online, and they're looking to break into the base of Cloud9.
There's 2.5 minutes on the Red Bull Baron buff, as well as 2 minutes to go for the Mountain Drake, and importantly, the Mountain Soul. That will be crucial against the burst damage that Jensen offers and the composition that Fnatic have put together. Cloud9 are dancing in their base. The Dredgeline catches out one, Razork throws out the ulti, the handshake pulls Blabber backwards, but no inhibitor secured. That could prove influential as Fnatic want to try play the rip, but they are backing away, Kobe.
Yeah, little chunk there onto Razork, but you could tell the threat of Upset's DPS kept Jensen from going in. That Aphelios will melt him so quickly there with the Ornn upgrade plus the Infinity Edge and Last Whisper purchase already for him. So much DPS output. If you go in, you best get a kill.
And it's just a matter of zoning here from Fnatic. You can see that C9 at the very end tried to go for a desperate attempt, but Jensen goes in, immediately is forced out. He's just tickling the front line of Fnatic. A good hook lands onto Razork, but it lands onto the front line. There is no access to this back line. Look at the shield sitting on top of Upset as well. Yeah. C9 just feel like they have no options, and Fnatic take advantage of that.
Even when Cloud9 get an engage on the front line, the long range of those, engaged ultimates from Fnatic make it so hard for Berserker to ever channel a Misfortune ultimate. If Fnatic don't use Ornn and Maokai and Renata ultimate, then it's very hard to stand and channel there and actually get that DPS.
Now Fudge, he has committed his teleport to the bot side of the map, which gives C9 an avenue into the river. While they might not have control over the mid, at least they can still contest this Drake. The problem is, they still can only come in from one angle, so the question is, how can they access the backline? What can Fudge do as Wonder zones him off that potential flank?
Fudge is trying to find an angle from the right. Spankoni sitting and Jensen coming in from the left. There is a pin's opportunity, but Cloud9 are down 3,000 gold. This is for Mountain Soul. This could be the final nail in the coffin. Jensen being tagged. Look at the damage on that sapling already. Mountain Drake to 8,000. Fudge can hop over that wall if he wants. Flash available to him. Dragon is now being focused, being chunked. The engage is thrown out as Berserker gets a near full channel on the bullet time. Jensen is popped! That's already a double kill coming out of Upset. Turns his attention to Sven, and Humanoid picks that one up. 2 members of Cloud9 reeling. The Mountain Soul secured, and Fnatic are in command of the opening game of groups.
The flankers tried to shut down Upset, and he just stood his ground as he secured a double kill.
What the hell happened to Jensen, Betty?
Fnatic melted him as they look to melt the base of Cloud9.
They're coming to end it right now with the Mountain Soul Fnatic inside the base.
The Pool 1 seed, the summer champions of the LCS in Cloud9 falling in the first game. There's 2 members standing. Berserkers just spawned. 8 seconds for fights, but the Nexus turrets are melted. They're shredded. They're destroyed. And Humanoid does one last Emperor's Divide for the show. The Nexus is focused down, and Fnatic turn their attention. They're not done yet. Kill them all as Fnatic win the first game of Groups World 22.